Hey, what it be? It's your boy Dre OG. Welcome back to the OG family. Today we got this when a night out goes wrong. You know what I'm saying? Look, man, we all hear some horror stories, man, around the world. But yo, these videos right here are fascinating because the shit didn't happen to us. Keep your fingers crossed. You know what I'm saying? And your vibes right. You know, keep your energy right. And stuff like this should most likely stay away from you. You feel me? But let's get into this video without further ado. Let's get this video to like 5,000 likes, man. I appreciate y'all for having y'all notifications on. Let's get it.
In August of 2021, British teenager Millie Taplin and her friends went out in Southend, Essex to celebrate the lifting of lockdown restrictions. It was reportedly Taplin's first night out to the club, as her 18th birthday, which she'd celebrated the previous November, had been marked by a quiet meal at home with her family. She and her companions had cocktails at a local pub before making their way to a club called Moo Moo's. During the course of the evening, Taplin began talking to a young man on the dance floor and reportedly accepted a drink from him. Before long, she started feeling sick and went outside, whereupon she began experiencing blurry vision. Her speech became slurred and she had trouble standing upright. Her friends got so worried that they called Taplin's sister, 28-year-old Sadie, who arrived at the scene and rushed her to the emergency room. It was there that they were later joined by Claire, Taplin's mother. Talking to a media outlet, the 48-year-old woman compared the state in which she'd found her daughter to a scene from The Exorcist. Claire reported her hands were clawed, her jaw was clenched, and her face was so distorted she looked possessed. It was determined that Taplin's drink had been spiked, although the exact substance remained unclear, with MDMA or ecstasy derivatives being named as the likeliest drugs based on her symptoms. Claire filmed her daughter's horrific reaction to the drugs with the intention of subsequently showing her the video as a warning for her to be more careful in the future. Once Taplin recovered a few hours later, she urged her mother to post the footage to a Crime Watch Facebook group, hoping it would serve as a cautionary example for parents and other young people. The video of her horrifically contorted face and body went viral. Some commenters argued that Taplin had intentionally taken the drugs that caused the paralyzing reaction, but she vehemently denied ever doing so.
Who would want to do that, though?
Wholly supported by her family. Number 7.
You feel me? Like, that's crazy, bro. And that's why, you know, part of this video, you know, we need to have some education. Ladies in particular. Watch your drinks. Because the purpose of a lot of this stuff is to get y'all in a, you know, state and take advantage of y'all and stuff like that. You know, I'm not saying it don't happen to men too. Watch y'all drinks. I know somebody that, you know, passed away from that, you know, in my city, from somebody putting something in their drink. Watch your drink. Don't even drink when you go out. Just have a good time. Learn how to go out and not even have to depend on drinking, you know?
Alexei Ponomarev.
Shit crazy.
A patron at a bar in southwestern Siberia, Russia, was left with horrific burns in May of 2013, following a stunt in which a bartender poured a glass of flaming absinthe into his mouth. 28-year-old Alexei Ponomarev's girlfriend, Anfisa Krylova, began filming the bar trick at an unspecified establishment in Novosibirsk. The bartender ignited the drink as Ponomarev laid his head back on the counter. As the blazing liquid began cascading, bright blue flames engulfed the man's face. Krylova was heard screaming in the background before the footage, which was subsequently shared thousands of times online, cut off. Ponomarev was rushed to the hospital with first and second degree burns to his face and ear. He subsequently stated an intention of suing the establishment for $500,000 rubles, which amounted to over $14,000. Bartender Albert Bykov, aged 34, claimed that it was Ponomarev who'd asked he use absinthe instead of the usual sambuca, and added that the customer bore responsibility for the failed trick because he'd covered his mouth. Number 6. Kim Pham.
That's stupid.
In November of 2014, 2 women were sentenced to 6 years each in a state prison at Orange County Superior Court after they'd beaten 23-year-old Kim Pham to death outside an establishment in Santa Ana, California. The incident occurred on January the 19th of that same year at a bar and club which at the time was known as the Crosby. Candace Brito and Vanessa Zavala, aged 27 and 26 respectively, were outside when an acquaintance of theirs, only identified as Amelia, bumped into Fam as she was taking a photo with her friends. A verbal fight erupted between the two women, prompting Brito and Savela to intervene on Amelia's behalf. It was reported that Fam had thrown the first punch, igniting a brawl that was captured on a bystander's cell phone and later presented as evidence in court. In the course of the melee, Fam was knocked to the ground, at which point Brito and mother-of-one Zavela repeatedly kicked her in the head. She sustained brain damage and was taken off life support 2 days later, with the cause of death reported to have been complications from blunt force trauma. Only Brito and Zavela were charged in the case, and during their court proceedings they initially claimed to have acted in self-defense, but were ultimately convicted of voluntary manslaughter and assault. A judge would point out that the two law-abiding, nice young women weren't gangsters or fighters, and that they'd had every opportunity to swallow their pride and walk away, but instead chose to brutally attack Fam. Number 5.
That shit crazy though, man. Like, that's crazy. And that woman is a mother, and she gonna be away for some time, man, for something that she could have prevented. That's crazy as hell. That's why I don't like people, y'all. That's why I like people. For a photobomb, though, a photobomb, really? Should give him like 20 years for that shit alone.
Tiger incident. On December the 7th of 2021, patrons at an establishment called Tiger in central London were left vomiting and bleeding from their mouths in an incident that was initially feared to have been an organized attack. A group of 5 club goers, the identities of whom weren't released, had downed tequila shots and used salt and lemon to soften the taste. Not long afterwards, they began to painfully retch and spit out blood. Police and ambulance vehicles raced to the Tiger as panic had overtaken the club, with patrons fearing it was under a biological attack. The authorities placed the club on lockdown, but it soon emerged that the incident had been the result of an accident stemming from staff keeping caustic soda and salt in similar containers. When the group downed the shots, they'd actually touched a corrosive cleaning chemical which causes burns in contact with skin. Because of its effectiveness in decomposing proteins, the substance, also known as sodium hydroxide, is also used to dissolve animal remains, particularly roadkill. The injuries the club goers had sustained weren't reported as life-threatening, although one of them still required hospital treatment over a month after the incident.
I thought that was going to be worse than what it was.
Tenerife club dance floor collapse.
Shit.
Dozens of revelers were injured at a night spot in Tenerife in November of 2017 after a stage in part of the dance floor collapsed. Footage of the incident would show a performer singing and dancing on stage at around 2:30 a.m. at the Butterfly Disco Pub. Moments later, screams echoed through the establishment as the floor, covering an area of approximately 43 square feet, gave way, sending the performer and other club goers plummeting into the basement. The lower level, normally operated as a bingo, was fortunately unoccupied at the time. After plummeting an estimated 10 feet, revelers were extracted from the rubble with various injuries, none of which were described as life-threatening. Those most seriously hurt reported broken legs, ankles, or hips. 8 ambulances had been dispatched to the scene on the main strip, Avenida Rafael Puig Uvina.
I break my motherfucking legs at somebody goddamn nightclub. I'm suing. Boy, look, y'all gonna have to run that, bro. Yeah.
In the municipality of Adege, 22 people were taken to the hospital, including British, Spanish, Romanian, French, and Belgian nationals. An investigation was launched into the incident. As of the latest updates on the matter, British couple Brian Young and Kevin Dilworth, both in their late 50s, initiated legal action against the Butterfly. The former had shattered his ankle and suffered from depression in the aftermath, while the latter had sustained ligament damage. Number 3. Marko Guberovic. In May of 2021, a man from New Jersey was killed following an argument at a gentleman's club made famous by the HBO series The Sopranos. 38-year-old Marko Guberovic had gotten into a fight with other patrons at Satin Dolls in Lodi, which was known as Bada Bing, on the aforementioned TV series. As the conflict spilled outside, shortly before 4 a.m., a group of 5 men beat Guberovic into unconsciousness and abandoned him in the middle of the highly circulated Route 17. Moments after the assailants had fled the scene, a driver who wasn't identified sped down the road in a 2020 BMW M8 and failed to notice Guberovic. The man was fatally struck and his body was gruesomely mangled after being dragged under the vehicle for approximately 600 feet. Kevin Aguadelo, Christian Reyes and Julio Pena were arrested alongside brothers Adrian Hotti and Ferro Hotti. Wow. The suspects, all in their early to mid-20s, were identified through surveillance footage and witness testimonies. The authorities determined they displayed extreme indifference to human life, and each faced charges of aggravated manslaughter and endangering an injured victim. In March of 2018, a club goer was arrested and charged with attempted murder after plowing his Suzuki Vitara into a crowd at a marquee area of Blake's nightclub in Gravesend, Kent, England. Most of those in attendance had gathered for a performance by grime artist Giggs. 21-year-old Mohammed Abdul was kicked out by bouncers because he'd become too intoxicated on the dance floor. He'd allegedly told them as he was being ejected, "I'm going to come back and shut this place down and kill you guys." Abdul had reportedly smoked cannabis and drank tequila shots, in addition to up to 15 vodka mixers. He got in his vehicle, for which he only had a provisional license, and maneuvered into a narrow alleyway at the side of the club.
You know he don't give a fuck about nothing, but look at his motherfucking dome piece, bro. Don't trust nobody, bro, that's walking around here like that. You can't trust nobody with their head opened up like that and they shit looking like that. That's clear sign something is not right, people.
Abdul then accelerated, crashed through closed metal gates and smashed into the revelers who were waiting for gigs on the dance floor. He'd done so even though they were unconnected to his dispute with the bouncers and merely enjoying a night out. The victims were reportedly sent sprawling like dominoes, and 8 of them sustained injuries. Pierre Jermaine Joseph, who was at the venue to film gigs, was pinned by the Vitara and suffered a fractured shin bone and knee. 18-year-old Katie Wells went under the vehicle and was left with a fractured pelvis, bruising and tire marks on her thighs. Clubbers pulled Abdul out of the Vitara and detained him until police arrived at the scene. Prosecutors noted that Abdul had an obvious intent to kill in the revenge attack, and he was eventually jailed for 28 years and banned from driving for 16 years. Number 1.
I mean, them laws and shit don't be making some sense sometimes. Just say 28 years, bro. He ain't gonna get out during that time. Just give everything 28. Insane.
Blind bar and grill shooting. On November the 7th of 2018, a former U.S. Marine entered the Borderline Bar and Grill in Thousand Oaks, California, equipped with a Glock 21, several high-capacity magazines, a folding knife, and smoke bombs. 28-year-old David Long had served in the Marine Corps from 2008 to 2013, a time during which he'd spent over half a year in Afghanistan. Following his honorable discharge from the military with the rank of corporal, concerns gradually arose for his mental health. He was at one point diagnosed with adjustment disorder and PTSD. Police and the mental health crisis team visited him in 2017 on account of his irate behavior and several legal troubles, but the authorities ultimately decided against detaining him at a psychiatric facility. Roughly a year later, he walked through the front doors of the Borderline, a country western bar that was often visited by college students. At around 11:18 p.m., Long opened fire on those inside. Patrons and staff, numbering close to 260, desperately scrambled to escape the hail of bullets, and many died within the first few minutes of the shooting, as they were either charging towards the gunman or lying on the floor. Impairing their attempts to find shelter or a way out was the fact that Long had been throwing smoke bombs. About 10 minutes into the shooting, 3 members of law enforcement approached the Borderline. Long followed their movements through the club surveillance systems and engaged them in a shootout. Sergeant Ron Heelis of the Ventura County Sheriff's Office was shot 5 times by Long, who'd used a flashlight with a laser sight on his handgun to locate him in the smoke-filled room. More police officers and a SWAT team arrived at the scene, but after the fire exchange with law enforcement, Long stopped shooting victims. At around 11:38, he placed a Glock under his chin and pulled the trigger, taking his own life. The motive for the shooting, aside from Long's crumbling mental health, was theorized to have been his disdain for college students and those unaffiliated with the military in general. After his service, he'd enrolled at the California State University, Northridge, but didn't graduate, and his alleged hatred of students had grown following interactions in which some had expressed negative opinions towards the military.
That's just wild, man. You never know when somebody's really on the edge like that. So that's why I always tell y'all, man, keep your energy, keep that good energy, man. Stop always going into all this negativity out here in the world, man. Like, stop attaching yourself to it and making that a part of your life. Keep that good vibe, man, and appreciate the people around you while we here, you know. But look, man, y'all heard it here. You can do what the hell you want to do at the end of the day. But look, man, we got the merch dropping, Discord, you know what I'm saying, Patreon, links down below if y'all support my channel. And like I always say, spread love, because there's too much hate in this world. Love you guys. See you in the next video. And I'm out though. Bye.